say affirmations all the time. I'm this, I'm that. Yeah. But what most people do, and when I say most, I'm talking about 90% of people on the planet, is their affirmation is not normally a good one. It's normally negative. If you just keep thinking about the life that you're living, okay, the things that you're doing the same and everything else, that's what you're going to keep getting. Now, here's the thing. Affirmations work when you put emotion into them. Affirmations work when you add the picture and you work with the picture in your mind, but that has to be done in a certain way. Now, people call it visualizing. So people go, well, I'm visualizing all the time. But you see, you have to visualize and have your mind and body in a certain state. When you start looking at this stuff, you know, working on what it is to be human and how to get to perform the best that you can perform, act, and that's what it's about, the best you can perform, act, is you have to do things in a certain way. So somebody will say, oh, affirmations don't work, visualizing don't work. And then they'll go and actually just do exactly the same thing. But, you know, now what they're teaching you is what I'm sharing with you here at this point, is do it with emotion. Do it consistently and persistently, a few times a day. Have your goal cards with you. Have on that goal something you've got no idea how you're going to achieve it, but absolutely, when you write it out, imagine what your life would be if that was achieved. You don't know how you're going to get there. I've said that several times and I'll say it again. But if you had achieved it, now I want you to start creating a picture around, I've achieved it. So what do I do now? How do I travel? How do I dress? How do I walk? How do I talk? What does life look like? What restaurants do I go to if I go out socially a lot? Yeah? How do I fly when I fly? Yeah. Do I live in a city and I don't need a car, but I have a chauffeur? Yeah. Why not? At the moment, you pick up an Uber and a car's going to turn up. An Uber's a great concept, but it might be a really cool car. It might not be a really cool car. And, you know, you're in his control. What about if you had a chauffeur? You don't have to call it a chauffeur. Your own Uber. What's an Uber driver make? 30, 40, 50 grand a year? I don't know. I've got no idea. But what about if you paid somebody 30 grand a year just to drive you around? Now, that's a goal if that's what you want. I'm really going on about all sorts of different things, but it all comes down to habits. At the moment, biggest habit maker on the planet, mobile phone. Your laptop, whatever, you know the score. Now, what I'm asking you to do is take control of it. Yeah. Go on there to do the things you need to do that add value to your life and will serve other people. Then get off. Yeah. Write out a goal that will blow your socks off if you achieve it. It can be financial if you want it to be financial, but I would say to you this, if it is financial, whatever it might be, is what are you going to do with the money? Because a lot of you go that way, which is fair enough if that's what works for you. I'm a great believer in going the other way around. Looking at your life, you know. Yeah, you can go, what's the most you've ever earned? I like to know what somebody's earned the most when I'm working with them, because it tells me a little bit about what's going on for them. It can tell me what their holidays are like, you know, possibly what their cars are like, what their home's like, you know, the clothes they wear, what they do for their kids, all that stuff. And it freaks them out when I say, well, you know, that's what you're earning a year. Why don't you look at earning that a month? And they go, what? I can't do that. I can't do that. Well, imagine you could. Well, would you live where you live? And one or two say, yeah. Most people go, no, I wouldn't. No. Where'd you go on holiday? Where would you go? And these are questions you need to start asking yourself and find out, not just yourself, ask your partner. You know, whoever your partner is, your wife, your husband, whatever it might be, it's all good. It's all good stuff, whoever it is. And you find when you're doing stuff for other people, you seem to get a little bit more done sometimes. You know, I was talking to my friend the other day and he said, I'm taking the whole family to Lapland. That's the one. That's his, his grandkids, his kids. It's a wonderful thing to do. What a wonderful thing to do. I mean, that's worth, working smartly, and everybody on that trip is going to have a wonderful time. So, what's your goals? What is it you really want? And you got to really just think about you. What is it you want? Now, whatever you want, it may obviously and naturally involve other people. So where that does, speak to them. Now, speak to them and they're going to go, oh, you can't do that, we can't do that and all that. Push them to the side. I don't mean physically, you know that, right? I mean, just go about it yourself. Yeah? Until they start seeing things change. And then they get curious. It's always the way. People doubt you, and then next thing they want to know what you're doing, and can you do it for them? Now that's a good way to go about life, is because then they're coming to you to ask for help, and then you get to help them, and you say, I understand how you feel. I know what it is to have no money, like I do. I know what it's like to be broke. Yeah, I know what it's like to be unhealthy, and I know what it's like when you got debts, and you full of. I didn't know this at the time when we had massive debts, a long time ago. And I had the debt collectors phoning and letters. I used to hate hearing the letterbox go. But I understand it's called anxiety, because I know anxiety from a different point of view. Bob Proctor taught us that when he taught us about our energies and things like that. It's when your energies don't meet correctly. Yeah, you're all over the place. You're not focused on something, and you're definitely not growing because you're going backwards. And these people who come and collect their money are often not very nice people, and a lot of them don't tell the truth. What you got to do is don't start thinking about getting out of debt. Blow that goal out of the ceiling completely. Blow the roof off it. Because if your goal is to get out of debt, you're never going to get out of debt. You're always going to find a way to be in debt. Because what you think about comes about. What your focus is on. Now, you might think, well, that sounds stupid, Lee. That's really stupid to say that. No, it's actually